What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer taking a look at the new Monarch support card. It's not a wave of support, unfortunately, or I guess not yet. I'm sure there's more to come, at least I'm hoping. But it's a big guy. It's like 3,000, but I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's like doesn't really work with the Monarch stuff that's in place right now. It can only be summoned off of Ether. So it's like follow-up play, so it's like really slow. I mean, it's good when it comes out, and you'll see here. And this is kind of like the only replay where I could bring it out. It's like a really late setup. Like, you have to hard open Ether, really, because even the continuous spell, which I don't play, doesn't even search it. Doesn't have that 28 1000 stat line. So I'm hoping that just means that there's going to be a new like generalized support about like 2400 or more attack or 1000 defense. They can keep the 1000 defense part, but like hopefully they kind of open things up a little bit. But going second here against Nat Runick, everyone's favorite. But I can go ahead and get rid of Vanity's Fiend. That's a pretty unique out. Eldlich is good. There's just too much synergy between Eldlich and Monarch, I think, not to play them. And Fenrir's just incredible in this deck, right? It's a free special summon that gives itself a body, which potentially can be used for a normal summon, right? Okay, I'm going to go for Magician Souls here. I can, upstart Goblin, which actually gives me a lot more advantage. The Magician Souls engine is crazy in this deck. He's going to go for Flashing Fire. Ouch. I was kind of hoping to keep that around, but the thing is, when you're playing that Runick, is that it's never really that big of a deal because it's not like they can attack over you, so it's not like they're getting rid of your monsters and then here comes the big follow-up where they're gonna kill you for game. They're just kind of playing setup, so I still have plenty on the crackback. He does go for Changing. He has Messenger of Peace, so all these are just extra layers and I'm gonna have to find a way to get over. So we'll see how I end up navigating it, and the new one is gonna help a lot. So there it is. Thestalos, I think, I don't know how to say these cards. The Shadow Firestorm Monarch. It's a fusion between two of them. I don't remember what the two are, but if you tribute a high-level monster, so Eldlich definitely fulfills that requirement. I think it's level 8 or above. You get to banish a card on the field. The default effect is to banish a card from hand. So I did tribute using my Majesty's Fiend, so I got to get over his Chaining, basically. I was really worried about that effect. It was like, any moment now he's going to be able to use that. This prevents special summoning, but of course this is a normal summon focused deck. I cannot attack, right, because of Messenger and Peace. He's going to keep going for these one-ofs, and he's going to banish some stuff. Nothing's like, I don't know. I guess there are important things, but almost everything's a 3-of in this deck. So nothing too crazy gets banished. I get a little lucky in that my like Eldlich engine did like not get banned at all. Maybe like one Scarlet, but I run 3 of those. Alright, so I'm going to get rid of Fountain. He can't go into Hugin. I think that's what it's called. You had to grab the field spell. So he's kind of stuck too. I'm imagining one of these is one of the Runick quick play spells. Excuse me, Erebus. Erebus is still crazy. So I did tribute over the new one to bring out Erebus. So you got to see it. I think this is like the only replay I could use. Like I said, it doesn't work with the field spell. It doesn't work with Tenacity. It just can only be brought out with Erebus. Maybe over the course of this video I will, but if that's as far as you wanted to go, if you wanted to figure out how good the new card is, it's just okay. You'd have to play the continuous spell that lets you tribute during your opponent's turn, but I don't know. That just seems like a win more now card. Like, you already have to have a lot of setup to get there, and I'd rather just have like Monarchs Erupt than that card, so it's just one of those follow-up cards, I guess, that's pretty good. Fenrir can come down here. That way, when I go to the battle phase, I can do a lot of really cool stuff. So, Eldlich is a really great, just continuous, disruption. It's like, it seems kind of small, and, and the game is definitely kind of past Eldlich on, but in the context of this, it's still very good. This is like a deck from a different time, you know what I mean? I hate Evenly Matched, by the way. I'm, like, kind of just sick of this card. It's just such a lame card. It just doesn't really reward the player using it, it's just kind of like a huge punishment. It's like playing around it, I guess, but eventually, like, you just want to play the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! You're not just gonna like leave monsters on the board, and I don't know, that just kind of sucks to see Evenly Matched so late into the game. But I can finally end up going for a game here. It didn't end up mattering too much. Fenrir was like a very good card, so I was pretty happy. But there's the new support card. I'm going to go over everything else now just because I'm like so into this deck and I wanted to play it so badly. This was, let's go for one more against Runick, and then I'll show you like Sprite, some of the bigger matchups, you know, with this deck, and hopefully the new card comes in every once in a while. I think it did, but it's just sometimes you're so far ahead with the Monarchs you're up in like Domain that it doesn't really do anything at that point. It's like good to rip a card out of your opponent's hand. I think actually I have one that I can't show against Hero where I did rip a card out of my opponent's hand. You know, banishing is good. And I think that as long as the new support comes out that supports it to come out easier, because it is good, right? Being able to tribute one of your opponent's monsters is obviously like a very good thing. Or like I have it, like here's the follow-up, like I'm ready to, you know, use this card, but we'll see. I don't think it even comes out. I think he ends up just actually scooping. Like he can't go into the quick play spell like Hugin. He just doesn't have access to Fountain. Look at this. He tries to go for Flashing Fire, and I'm just going to go ahead and tribute over it. That's pretty nice. It just blanks completely. Now, he does get to go for the, you know, effect negation, but that's fine, right? That doesn't really do anything. It's just kind of cool to send extra Pantheisms and Prime Monarchs. And that's kind of what I was thinking is that is sort of the, like, there's a few cards that I think prevent this deck from being, you know, better. It's never going to be competitive, but better. Like, I think that Anchimafrofrit, I think it's called like Unicamouflage. I just always call it Anchimafrofrit. Like this card needs to be replaced, but right now it's like really one of the best. Now I know there's like that little normal summon engine for tributing cards, you know, in Monarch, but the thing is like if that card just gets impermed, you lose. So it's like you need your tribute fodder to just be special summons, and Anchimafrofrit, like, you know, at least gives itself an extra card, you know, by drawing one when it uses itself as a special summon. But I think if they can just update that tribute, you know, engine that they have, then you'll see some pretty cool stuff. So Gamma, very bad. That definitely, this deck just loses to Ash most of the time. It depends, right, if you can bait it out, but most of the time if you're like in a dire situation or like there's only one line of play and you have to go through like Pantheism and your opponent just ashes it, you most of the time just lose. But he's got Ghost Ogre, he's got Gamma. Like, this guy is not joking around. He had Moonlit too. A lot of hand traps in the opener, but we'll see what ends up happening here. I did get rid of, what's it called? His super heavy samurai something that equips when it's sent to the graveyard to add. So I imagine he was going to add that pendulum, so I needed to stop that. Last card in hand was Ched. Like, I don't know what this deck is. I was not expecting that at all, but here we are. He's going to go for blue. Now, I'm lucky he did already go through Jet, so he's doesn't really have too much to do at this point, so that's obviously a good thing. I think he's going to be able to get over Eldlich, which is not really all that bad. I do have Monarchs are up, so if I can get it online, I'll like get way ahead of him. That's why it's kind of worth setting, even though I couldn't use it. But Fenrir, good. Fenrir is a free special summon. It's one of the best Monarch support cards ever. And look how close it is to being like actual Monarch card. 2400 attack. If it had 1000 defense, that'd be incredible. This would be like a literal, like the best Monarch card if it had 1000 defense. But he's going to go for, you know, Smashers. That's fine. I'll just like once again go for the Fenrir. So I was able to force out that carrot there, and then I get to banish that card in the back, and then I also had, you know, Domain in my hand. So that is just the end of the duel, which is pretty impressive, right? Luminous Lunar Jag is another card I think like should definitely either just be taken out straight up or replaced, but there's just not a lot of great Monarch cards right now. They do some like very specific things, like Caius, you know, banishes a card, which is fine, but you have to like, it's like forced, you know, like you'd have to like banish one of the cards that you own, and that's bad. Like, you just don't want that to be there. And I guess that's kind of where it gets replaced with the new one, but yeah, like Luminous Lunar is a good target to summon off of Ether, just because it's, you know, you can steal an opponent's monster for a turn, which can be like kind of important. But Samorg's another one of those. Like, I run like a lot of tech cards because so much can be summoned off of Ether, but I wish Ether's effect during your opponent's turn was to tribute summon a card. That would make a huge difference. So maybe that's what the next evolution of that card's going to be. Because like the new monster would be crazy if you could like summon it off of Ether, and then like during your opponent's turn, you know, you can just like quick effect, like tribute it, and then just like bring it out. But it only brings out itself and like something else from the deck, which is like really great follow-up, right? Because they get to send Pantheism and, you know, Prime Monarch. But it itself doesn't really do anything. Not against your opponent, at least. Alright. I'm going to go for Eldlich here. Yeah, it's funny, right? He went to... Because I needed tribute fodder, and he went to bring out... I literally don't know what to say this card. Kampa, let's say. Which banishes a special summon monster, but... Yeah, this counts as a trap still. So it actually just kind of blanked. So I still had that tribute fodder. I'm going to send back the trap, right? Because that's like super good follow-up. Pantheism can search me domain, which is great. And then all I have to do now is get over Sarah, and that's kind of it. Trap Tricks is a very fragile deck, for sure. They don't really have... Like, once it gets going, it's like almost impossible to stop, but like it's pretty easy to stop. I'm going to go ahead and grab 2 Scarlets. I actually only run 1 Eldlich, which is kind of a strange ratio. But it actually works. Like, I never really needed to bring out another Eldlich from the deck. And it's also kind of bricky. It's not really, because you can also use it as like tribute fodder for domain, which isn't terrible, but I've always just kind of run it like, right, I'm just like literally bringing it back from the graveyard. It's like, what would bringing one out from the deck really do for me here? Like, probably not much. I would imagine this card he set back down is like imperm, so I can get it into that column. But, you know, Pantheism, I can also send, you know, Prime Monarch. Again, like, I want to use this card. I bring it out quite often because it is like good follow-up, right? Ripping a card out of your opponent's hand and then banishing a card they own too, because you're going to have that, you know, initial thing here. You're going to be able to tribute over Erebus, tribute over Ether, one of those two. But he scoops, so it's like, I'm so close. So close. This is okay. I at least have 2 forms of interruption going second. Like, you just wouldn't think of this as a going second deck, and it's really not. But somehow I always steal like a lot of like random wins against this, like these like decks that I have no business even beating on any remote level. Okay, he's gonna set the new trap there, which is obviously gonna trigger Sarah. It's like super good. It's like the new Shade Brigadine, but better. You can go ahead and send that trap hole. He can search the one that searches, which is Murmello. I'm assuming he already has Champa, or whatever it's called, in his hand. We'll see. Anshima Frofrit, it's always nice. So I can special summon Fenrir, forcing him to go into the trap hole floodgate, which is pretty good, right? This card just does the most. It's also tribute fodder still. I can still use it for that. And normally you can't really do anything like with trap hole, you know, just kind of stops you from whatever you're doing, but kind of serves the same purpose a little bit. I thought he was going to go for the one that, you know, gives me 2k damage and negates a card from hand or graveyard. Doesn't end up going for it, which helps me out a lot, but I'm going to go for domain, and I'm kind of like just ahead by a large margin. This trap cannot be used this turn, so I'm going to only tribute over 1, just in case he like gets over this. Or if he wants to banish, maybe I can, like, you know, bait him out from being able to do that. Right, if he wants to bring out the one that banishes special summon monster, he might think, oh, I'm going to get rid of that monster that's domain locking me, and then realize that that's not really how that works. So Morg obviously is pretty good against Trap Tricks, just preventing him from being able to set cards. You know, like, it's not until the follow-up, and again, that's kind of the weakness. If Ether just said you can... during the main phase, it didn't have a hand effect, just like a field effect. You can normal summon 1 card, or tribute summon 1 card, I should say. That way it could be replaced. That would just be so much better. So I'm hoping something like that comes out. That would literally make all the difference on the world. Yeah, he goes for Imperm, but just, yeah, it's not really how it works. He goes twice for the Floodgate Trap Hole, and 1 Fenrir. This card is literally just like stealing the game. I'm going to go for Cursed Eldolin, right? You want Golden Land Forever is like super good because most of the time all you have to do is protect domain once, because these are like very untraditional outs, right? Your opponent can't go into the extra deck to get rid of this, which is like where the majority of outs are. So like that one, you know, Harpy's Feather Duster, or whatever the case may be, that one specific out, if you just have the Omni Negate for it, then there's not really much your opponent's going to be able to do. So there goes some Morg. So at this point, I don't know if that really matters, you know, just because... I guess if he draws a trap off the top, that'd be pretty good, but yeah, otherwise it ain't really doing much. But look how far ahead I am now, and I actually have the Omni Negate 2 ready, but yeah, he's going to go for Imperm there. That's fine, you know, Golden Land Forever, I just can't use it, but he can't go to the extra deck. He's also just, you know, skill drained for the turn, like, you know, pretty much no matter what happens, unless he gets rid of the, you know, The Monarchs Erupt. Okay, I think I went into the new monster in this duel. I want to say that I did. This is a great opening, so I'm going to be able to draw a bunch of cards. Seeing 2 of these is, I guess, kind of unfortunate, but you'll be able to use it for next turn anyways. I cannot win a dice roll with this deck. Like, I feel like most of these duels are me going second. And the ones where I do go first, I kind of just, like, hit up the domain lock and my opponent, like, scoops a little bit. But, all right, he's going to go for Mass Change. Obviously, it means that the Dark is going to come down. Dark Law. Sunrise, I think, adds Miracle Fusion, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it does. This is that new artwork for Stratos. I think I just like the old one better, though. All right, he's going to go for Miracle Fusion. He's going to go, I think, the Wind one for Mass Change. I think it, like, returns spells and traps to the hand and does one other thing. I don't remember, but here comes Cursed Eldlin. I'm going to hold on to it because I know there's Mass Change. So this is, like, kind of, it's just going to blink. If I try to, like, get rid of one of his back row. Very good, right? Because this is something that you want to see in the graveyard anyways, and this obviously has a good effect when it's sent. So it's just Pot of Greed with a lot more advantage. This is, like, the best deck to play Magician Souls. Miracle Fusion, can't use it apparently. And there we go. Here's the new one. I think I'm going to try to go in for it. Yes, I do. There we go. Mass Change, so I'm going to go ahead and banish a card from his hand. He does, you know, lower the attack of this. Yeah, this isn't a once per turn, so I can just, like, keep activating this, which is kind of funny. I guess most field spells are, so you, like, imagine, you would, like, automatically imagine that would be the case, but it's not. I actually have Ether in hand, which is nice, so he's probably going to try to go to the battle phase, and I'm just going to, you know, tribute summon over this. It did do its purpose. I got rid of Liquid Soldier, so if he did have, like, Polymerization, it's, like, pretty good rip, to be honest with you. And yeah, now he can't really get over anything, except for Magician Souls, which isn't doing anything anyways. This was against Speedroids, I believe. Well, it was like Kashtira Speedroids, which I guess kind of makes sense because they're all, like, level 7. So if you just have, like, level 3 tuners and Speedroids, you just make Baron, and that's obviously great. It's, like, free special summons. It's great going second. I don't know how far his engine ended up going, but how cool is that? So Cursed Eldlin I can send, and I could probably just send an extra copy of Conquistador. That way I, like, have the loop going. So I sent, yeah, being able to send all of those cards is so good. And I know, like, that's kind of how Magician Souls has been used traditionally. It's just that it's so cool, like, with Magician Souls that you can also send Pantheism and Prime Monarch and all those other cards. But yeah, Majesty Sphinx kind of serves the same purpose as all the other domain stuff, right? It's just stunning your opponent. It's really what this deck is at the end of the day. But I'm going to go ahead and get over this Unicorn. Kind of awkward, right? Like, if he has Fenrir, that's bad. He did go for Kaiju, which is kind of random, to be honest with you. But I'm not sure. Like, why not do that first? Maybe he was planning to. I'm not sure. But he goes for Kit Drake. Or Kite Drake, excuse me. So this destroys all of their cards on the field. Do have Fenrir in hand, so that's obviously going to help me out a lot. So I can go ahead and special summon Fenrir, and the top deck of Magician Souls is also very good. It's going to be a very good Pot of Greed. Fenrir replaces itself, which is always awesome. I'll probably just go for one here, I imagine. I ended up drawing into Prime Monarch, but that's okay because I have Eldlich in the graveyard, so I can also send this off the field. So in, like, normal Monarchs, like, that's definitely, it's, like, really bad when you see that in your hand. But Eldlich kind of helps, you know, fix that problem. But I do have the Monarchs Erupt now, so we're just going to be able to stop my opponent from basically playing the game. Skill Drain plus Fenrir is, like, great. If you can attribute summon Fenrir, you're, like, in a really, really positive spot. This is another duel against Runick Naturia. I literally, like, I did not win one dice roll for an entire night trying to get the film for this video. I could not catch a break. He discards Ash, which is, like, super bold. His hand must be, like, just crazy runic spells. I guess I'll find out in a second here. That's always kind of the good thing about Unicama Flight, though, is that, like, your opponent most of the time does not go for this. And if they do, like, it just kind of feels bad, doesn't it? We could still get to bring it out as, like, discard fodder. Like, what, you stopped Upstart Goblin with one of your spells, and you already used Fountain, so I know that whatever he's got in his hand is all he's got for now. Yeah, it's like such a good pot of greed because I just get to draw one, and then this immediately triggers, so I get to use it. It's great. Oh, okay, so he had another Ash in hand. That's why he ended up going for that. But yeah, like that's fine. I'm going to get rid of his Fountain, and then, Pantheism is going to be able to search Domain, and that's obviously just very, very good. So during his draw phase, I'm going to go for Monarch's Erupt. That way it's around the whole time. Probably, or not. I guess you don't really have to, right? Especially when you see something like this, it kind of vindicates that thought. But I'm going to go ahead and special summon Magician's Souls. I can do an Upstart Goblin, but Cursed Goblin is going to give me advantage. I actually draw into a Hakera. Isn't that funny? So I'm going to have like every single one of my piece for the Eldlich engine online. I decide not to, I might as well just bring this out. Which I guess makes sense because it doesn't really have anything in the graveyard right now. All I have to do is get rid of Fountain, which can't be too hard. He can't go into the extra deck. The Monarch's Erupt is also online. So there he's going to go for Fountain, right? This is negated, so it can't replace itself. And we're off to the races here. Tenacity off the top, which actually does work with Majesty's Fiend. So this is basically a Monarch card. He's going to banish a bunch of my cards, but like once this deck is established, nothing really matters. Everything's just kind of a repeat. Just have to survive one more turn, which shouldn't be a problem. I have an Omni Negate, kind of ready here. He's going to Kaiju my Majesty's Fiend, but like once you get these on the board, like that's cool and all, but yeah, like they're negated. So like, what are you really doing? What are you really doing there? I'll show a couple more. Let's see what I'm playing here. So this is obviously a very, very good opening. So Fenrir is going to replace itself. Free body. I do already have Domain. I see Pantheism here, and that's kind of like unfortunate because I'm not going to really be able to do anything with it. But okay, I'm going to go into Erebus. He's going to start with one less card in his hand. I can send a couple more. Pantheism could search me, something else. I'm going to go ahead and go for Pantheism. Anchema Frofrit. Let's see what I get off the top. Another Anchema Frofrit. Well, at least I'm Domain Lock. And sometimes I always forget, like I always think I need to have all these backup plans. And it's like, well, sometimes you just play an extra deck focus strategy and you just win. Right? Like your opponent sometimes just can't beat that, which is really funny. Like Super Poly obviously doesn't do that. Like Dark Ruler No More doesn't do that. Like most people are not preparing for like spell and trap removal, like off rip, So you have so much advantage going game one, going into it. Even going second, you have a little bit of an advantage. Just depends. I can draw two. So it's like, oh, it's kind of unfortunate, like he did Ash. It seems like I went -2, but I didn't, right? Pantheism is going to replace itself, and so is Hakero. So Majesty's Fiend can't go into the extra deck, plus Monarch's Erupt. Plus I have really good follow-up here with Scarlet, right? That once that engine gets going, it's going. This is a skill drain for the rest of the turn, unless you can get rid of Erupt. And look at that. Harpy's Feather Duster plus Ash. Yikes. Still can't activate monster effects, though, and that's why I like Majesty's Fiend so much. Right? Even through all of that. It's like so many different layers that all kind of work together. And then I'm just going to show this game against Kashtira. Kind of a weird one. I mean, he can't go into the extra deck, which definitely helps a lot. But Fenrir can go ahead and, bring itself out. I'm going to get a nice draw 2 here off of Magician's Souls after I search. A lot of the times your opponent will Ash this card, which is great. It's definitely something that you want to lead with. This is going to give me a lot of advantage. So again, he goes for Ash. But I have not normal summon yet, so I still get to go for Erebus. And he's actually going to start with 3 cards in his hand, so Ash is obviously bad. Like, would have been great to draw 2. It just wasn't game ending, which I guess is nice. But there goes Domain. And I can bring this out just cuz, might as well. And then I can go for Scarlet. So I do have an Omni Negate now to protect it. Through all of that, right? Well, I should say all of that. Through Ash Blossom. Through Ash Blossom, I still have a pretty good setup here. And look at that Sphere mode. Unbelievable. You would think that would have been enough, but it definitely was not. I even had the Omni Negate to protect myself. But yeah, he can't attack into his own Sphere mode, so at least he doesn't get to trigger. So it wasn't like special summon Fenrir or Unicorn and start comboing off. That would have been really sad. But Erebus can go ahead and bring itself back, right? I can tribute off this sphere mode, which is pretty cool. Then I can go ahead and get rid of that Fenrir. It's kind of a problem. Well, I really needed to send a couple cards to the graveyard more than anything. Or maybe I didn't. I don't know. I guess I could have... I was going to say I can't really rip from the hand, but... Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. To be able to survive all of that was a pretty good way to end that. So that is Monarch Eldlich. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Other than that, that's going to do it for today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.